She is the uncrowned queen of the Himalayas, an eternal romance called Darjeeling. Ever since the British, way back in the 1830s, first honed a breathtaking health resort or convalescent center out of this little hill town, delicately strung on a spur of a mountain, time has patiently stood still for Darjeeling. Indeed, the march of civilization has scripted inevitable changes in the intervening years, but the essence of Darjeeling has remained untouched. And above all, its crowning glory, the tirelessly whistling 121-year-old wonder toy train.
Railways came to India, as we know, 150 years ago. That takes us to the middle of the 19th century. And in those days, of course, Calcutta was still the capital, most important city in India, and the eastern region was the most important part, most industrialized and everything. And as you also know, in those days, the British couldn't go home to England very often because there was only ship and it took a long time to get there. So when they wanted to escape from the heat of the plains, they would go up to hill stations. And the most important hill station in the eastern region was Darjeeling, which was originally built as a sanatorium for soldiers. And of course, in those days, the railways were much more modern than the roads. There was no road transport except tongas or being carried up in a sort of rickshaw-like thing. So to build a railway to Darjeeling became an obvious priority. And that's why the railway was built, for one reason, to carry people up to the hill station to escape from the heat of the plains. Lots of schools came up there as well. And the other reason, of course, is because after Darjeeling developed at the beginning of the 19th century, the tea industry developed around it. And we all know now that Darjeeling tea is known as the champagne of teas. And of course, the railway performed a great service for the tea industry. It would bring stores, stocks and stores and things up for the tea gardens, and going down, it would take the tea back to Siliguri, where it would be transported to Calcutta to be auctioned. So it was both a passenger and a goods service. And of course, above everything else, I suppose, it was a wonderful, unique railway. One of the highest railways, I think, in the world, climbing over 7,000 feet in 40 miles. And that is a real achievement, because railways are really not meant to go up hills. They are basically, if you look at them, forms of transport which operate most successfully on flat levels. It's very difficult for a railway train to get up a hill, and yet the Darjeeling Railway makes this climb.
Of abiding fascination for millions across generations, across the world, Darjeeling's toy train now stands under the UNESCO's umbrella, declared a World Heritage Site in 1999. The British-built 88-kilometer track on which the vintage train runs links the plains of North Bengal to the Darjeeling Hills. With mounting losses and deteriorating service in the early 90s, there was talk of terminating the track. A vigorous campaign to save Darjeeling's priceless heritage paid off when the UNESCO included it in its list of World Heritage Sites. Indeed, Darjeeling would have been quite another story had an inspired Englishman not dreamt a near impossible dream for this unique hill town. Franklin Prestige, an agent of the Eastern Bengal Railway, conceptualized the plan for Darjeeling Railway back in 1878. Construction of the railway line up to Darjeeling was completed by July 1881. The Darjeeling Steam Tramway Company, formed later, became the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway Company in September 1881. For the local hill people of Darjeeling, Life for generations has revolved around the serpentine windings of this baby train that kisses the town right through its journey up and down the mountains. Its whistle stirring the heart and soul of every hillman, woman and child. While more than a century of coexistence has ensured that the vintage train is completely incorporated into the daily lives of the hill people, popular culture has contributed immensely to its immortalization, making it a part of our national consciousness. Overnight, the train became synonymous with romance, as Bollywood too got mesmerized with it.
मेरे सपनों की रानी कब आएगी तू, आए रुत मस्तानी कब आएगी तू, बीती जाए जिंदगानी कब आएगी तू, चलिया तू चलिया, मेरे सपनों की रानी कब आएगी तू, आए रुत मस्तानी कब आएगी तू, बीती जाए जिंदगानी कब आएगी तू, चलिया आ तू चलिया।
Over the years, the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway has fascinated millions of tourists who visit this little hill town from various corners of the country and the world to experience the inimitable magic of one of the world's last surviving steam engines.
I think steam engines are more romantic, you know, going back many, many years. And so I think steam's far better than diesel. More atmosphere, especially being a very old railway line going back to many, many years. And the original steam engine's I think, rather good.
Everything's a surprise because what it used to be perhaps is different, and what we get told often doesn't happen.
But India's one big surprise. From the day we landed, you know, everything's new and has to adjust all the time to Indian culture, you know, Indian time, Indian everything, you know, just.
I think you need to be very flexible if you come on this trip, especially doing it like we are. We are probably doing it how the younger people do it, with backpacks, but we're not that young now.
Darjeeling Himalayan Railway was run by a company called Galandas Arbuthnot. And my father was for more than 20 years in Calcutta and ended up as a senior partner in Galandas Arbuthnot. My association with the railway goes right back to 1941, when as a child of just 5 years old, I was sent to boarding school in Darjeeling because my parents, who were living in Calcutta, felt that the heat of Calcutta was unhealthy for us poor, fragile European children, and we were sent up to Darjeeling. And the routine was that you caught the train in Sialdah station, Bengal Assam Railway. Overnight that took you up to Siliguri. Then in Siliguri you got out, and I still remember this, you had a big breakfast there. And it was in the European dining room, if I remember rightly, because you find it hard to believe, but in those days there were separate dining rooms even for Europeans. And then we boarded the little train. We used to get off the train at certain stages, particularly at the loops and the zigzags, and run up the Khad and then get on the train again. But it was tremendous fun. Because my father was a partner in Galandas, he was a director of the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway. And of course, I used to boast about this on the train, and I used to get hit around the head by others and said, shut up, stop boasting, and all the rest of it. But I'd say, this is my railway. My father owns this railway, you see. And my mother, in later life, gave me solid gold proof. You see this little gold cookery here is a tie-pin or a brooch. If you look at the back, you will see on it DHR pass number director written underneath. So all my father had to do was to put this tie pin into his tie and he could travel free on the railways.
This train is as integral to Darjeeling's identity as are the lush tea gardens bearing the champagne of teas, the brightly clad, bejeweled local women giggling past the inquisitive tourist, bazaars lined with Asian exotica ranging from jewels to artifacts, oriental masks to semi-precious stones, the rejuvenating evergreen forests standing high and lofty around the hills. The baby locomotive's incredible 6-hour journey to Darjeeling commences in New Jalpaiguri. Time was when the entire 87.48 kilometer stretch was negotiated by the puffing steam engine. Today, the railways are compelled to employ a diesel engine. The train starts caressing nature almost as soon as one crosses Siliguri. Dense jungles give way to tea plantations. By the time the train reaches Sukna, thick foliage of sal, toon and teak trees adorned with bougainvillea, scarlet poinsettia and exotic orchids transport the traveller to a world away from reality. Records have it, once a herd of wild animals stubbornly parked themselves on the track, forcing the engine driver to reverse into Sukna and wait for the pack of elephants to depart. Such adventures may not come the traveller's way in the new millennium. But nature continues to be kind to these paths. The journey from Sukna upwards is a study in rail engineering marvel. The train ascends to a height of 672.9 meters to reach Chunbati, where it crosses the first loop. The method applied in constructing this line was adopted by an Austrian, Chega, who helped railway engineers neutralize the need to bore tunnels by artificially lengthening the line by means of looping it. The construction of the line is steeped in stories of engineering marvels written in the steep gradient sharp curves, the Z crossings and loops incorporated in the line. The engineer was close to abandoning the project when his wife advised him, "If you cannot go ahead, let's go back." Back it was for the engineer, leading to the Z crossing where the train is first pushed backwards through an up gradient to reach a considerable height before proceeding ahead, and the line takes the shape of the letter Z. There are 6 such Z reverses along the 87.48 kilometer journey from New Jalpaiguri to Darjeeling.
बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है, स्पेशली जब हम ऊपर आ रहे हैं और नीचे देख रहे हैं, डाउन वैली देख रहे हैं, तो जो जिगजैग सा दिख रहा है, एंड जब हम उसमें आ रहे थे तो जो ट्रेन बैक हो रही है और फिर से आ रही है, वो जो जेड रोड क्रॉसिंग लिखा हुआ था, वो उसमें बहुत मज़ा आ रहा था हम लोगों को.
It is an amazing engineering feat, practically a double loop for the rise from Ramtang to Tindharia. In the year 1914, workshops for the train's maintenance were opened at Tindharya. The Darjeeling Himalayan section has its own workshop at Tindharya, where the major overhauling of locomotive carriages and wagons is undertaken. The train finally chugs into Kurseong, from where on the traveller is assured of a magical ride on the steam locomotive. While nature has not let the toy train down, the ride still qualifies as one of the finest in the world.
ऐसा लग रहा है कि मतलब सब कुछ मिल गया हो यहाँ, और जो एक इंजन है इसका विसिल, ऐसा विसिल हमने सिर्फ फिल्मों में ही खाली सुना था, माने आज तक रियल लाइफ में हमने ऐसा विसिल देखा नहीं था। और मतलब जो इधर का एटमॉस्फेयर है और कुछ यहाँ की लड़कियाँ भी हैं, बहुत ही सुंदर है। मतलब
The Indian Railways, confident of the fact that the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway would not lose its heritage status because of its decision to introduce diesel engines, are certain that overall diesel engines would attract more travellers. Nostalgia allows for less practical thinking. After all, for more than 100 years, the steam engine has puffed inside the heart and soul of Darjeeling. However, with the commercial viability of steam locos getting increasingly stretched over the years, the thought of replacing them with diesel engines has gained valid currency. The replaced steam locos, the last of which was brought from Britain more than 8 decades ago, will however not be totally phased out.
I like steam engine more, much more, because there are not that many steam engines anymore in the world, so you really have to look for it. And again, because I'm a train lover, I like to see the steam engine. Really like it.
In between, the train stops for water at Toon, as it has for decades. Only, now the engines require more water, as their cooling power has diminished considerably.
ट्रैक का बंदोबस्त होना चाहिए। आगे हमारे ज़माने में 25-28 किलोमीटर चलता था स्पीड, अभी तो यहाँ तो 18 किलोमीटर चलने का है। हमारे ज़माने में ट्रैक अच्छा था, इसका मेंटेनेंस अच्छा था। उस समय हम लोग गाड़ी पूरा 28 किलोमीटर के करीब दौड़ाते थे, यही स्टीम इंजन लेकर के। लेकिन अभी तो ट्रैक का कंडीशन भी ठीक नहीं है, कुछ भी ठीक नहीं है। वैसे इंजन पुराना है, उसको बूढ़ा आदमी को तो खाना अच्छा देना चाहिए था, वैसे ही बूढ़ा इंजन को तो अच्छा खाना देना चाहिए था। बूढ़ा इंजन है, खाना भी वैसे ही रद्दी है।
To this day, the train continues to draw responses from awe-struck tourists. An engineering marvel, it cohabits with Darjeeling's local spirit, almost as if the two were conceived by nature in a single moment of creative genius. As one approaches Sonada onto Ghum, that sits at a height of 7,407 feet, one realizes that Darjeeling's toy train will remain one of the greatest and most charming wonders of the world. After all, it was one of the first of its kind in the world. It remains one of the last of its kind in the world. Since its inception in 1880, the train has carted kings and queens, heads of state and commoners, inspiring the same emotion of wonder in one and all. Mark Twain had said of his ride on the toy train in 1895, and I quote, "The most enjoyable day I've spent on earth is of mixed ecstasy, of deadly fright and unimaginable joy," unquote. Ghum, in fact, is an awe-inspiring reminder of the 121 long years through which the tireless little toy train has come and rested at one of the world's highest railroad stations. The museum at Ghum station showcases the toy train's glorious track record, documenting the train's vintage accessories, preserved for posterity, framed in time.
ये आज से पहले ब्रिटिश के टाइम में जब ट्रेन स्टेशन मास्टर लाइन क्लियर स्टेशन से गाड़ी को लाइन कर दिया जाता था तो पायलट मैन इसको पायलटिंग करके ले जाता था। तो इसको ऐसे बजाते बजाते स्टेशन लिमिट बोर्ड तक वो पायलटिंग करके गाड़ी को ले जाता था। इसी तरह ये मेल एक्सप्रेस ट्रेन के लिए, ये गुड्स ट्रेन के लिए, ये गुड्स ट्रेन जब आते थे तो उसको भी पायलटिंग करके ले जाता था।
हमारा पिताजी भी इसी गाड़ी में फार्मर काम करता था। उसका बाद में जब ड्राइवर हुआ तो ड्राइवर होने के टाइम में हमारा पिताजी को ये गाड़ी अलॉटमेंट किया उसी का नाम में। जब हम फिर 1983 में ड्राइवर हुआ उसका बाद में फिर हमको यही गाड़ी 779 हमको नाम में अलॉटमेंट किया। तो ये गाड़ी में जब हम ड्राइवर काम किया NGB से लेकर दार्जिलिंग तक आता था तो ये गाड़ी बहुत स्मूथली आता था, क्योंकि इसको हम लोग इतना मेंटेन करता था। हमारा लड़का बच्चे से भी ज़्यादा इसको हम ध्यान देता था, इतना मेंटेन करता था हम इसको। इसीलिए ये गाड़ी हमको कभी धोखा भी नहीं दिया और अभी तक हमारा ये अंडर में है, हमारा देखभाल में है, तो अभी तक ये गाड़ी बहुत स्मूथली काम कर रहा है।
The Darjeeling Himalayan Railway's 121-year-old history has not been without its share of pain and loss. Most of it reserved for the diminished steam engine that runs only on the Kurseong-Darjeeling 3.5-hour stretch today. Time was when the train had at its command a fleet of 18 to 20 steam engines. Today it has only 2 to 3 steam engines in running condition. While the Indian Railways is concentrating on sprucing up the vintage train with modern efficiency, The whistle of the steam engine continues to resonate in the hearts of those nostalgic about the magic of a bygone era, and who are indeed willing to invest both time and money in reliving that magic. A more vigorous marketing, some feel, could help raise the kind of funds required for the establishment cost of a great heritage.
But Eastern India, where Darjeeling is one of the great destinations and the railway one of the great sites, needs really vigorous marketing if we're to get full advantage of all the effort now going in to preserve this wonderful railway.
Marketed well, the steam locomotive heritage could in fact bring in the resources that the maintenance of a 100-year-old infrastructure needs. As the toy train puffs into its final destination, you cannot but be overwhelmed by the thought that the ticket to Darjeeling is a ticket that in fact takes you halfway to heaven. Indeed, the small wonder has covered a long journey from 1881 to 2002, from New Jalpaiguri to Darjeeling.